Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Single-Player Escape from Tarkov, also known as SPT 2.0. I'm going to showcase really quickly what Single-Player Escape from Tarkov is all about. I've talked about this mod and the controversy behind it. Well, it seems to have died down over the months. Online Tarkov is its own thing, and mostly single-player people don't touch it, and vice versa. The game is sort of segmented into what is the game that you buy, which is the online version, beta version of Escape from Tarkov, and the other part, the considerably smaller part, is this, the single-player conversion mod for it, which is basically just what it is. What it says on the tin, rather. If you want to learn more about the mod itself and the entire controversy behind it, and etc, etc, I've made a video on it previously. If you're coming from that video or from somewhere else and just want to know what single-player Tarkov is like, then stick around. So, first of all, I'd like to take you through the economy of the game a little bit, because a lot of people have been asking me, both on my previous video and in general, what single-player Tarkov is like. Economy, combat, etc, etc. To some people it seems exciting, to some people it seems boring because you don't risk anything, and so on and so on and so forth. Well, the economy of SPT, and I'm going to use SPT, it's called SPTarkov or SPTAKI, I think it's SPTarkov. That's how I've been pronouncing it since I've been following this mod. Anyways, everything from the economy to the combat has been emulated to be close to the online experience, and in some aspects it is identical to the online experience, especially in the economy. As far as combat is concerned, I haven't played that much of it to talk too much about anything. However, there are mods that make the AI better, that make the game very different, with faction wars and stuff that increase spawns, that, you know, there's all sorts of stuff. Anyways, let's stick to the economy for now, and I'll get onto those other things in the future. We'll start from the bottom, and that is the Hideout. Now, I've just started this character, or I've just installed the mod, and obviously you start from the ground up, basically. So, the Hideout is virtually identical as the one in online. The generators work the same. I don't have a generator right now, but you put fuel in it. As long as the generator is running, the fuel is sticking down. When you turn the generator off, the fuel doesn't. You don't use any fuel. The workshops, the crafting, everything is identical. It takes the same amount of time to craft, for example, ammunition, or scav junk boxes, which again I don't have currently here, but they take the same amount of time to give you the various things that you're looking for. Well, depending on what you put into the scav junk box, intel or alcohol or whatever. Vodka, I think, is one of the drops. Anyways, the construction is exactly the same. Money and the resources that you need, or the items that you need to construct something, that is all identical. If we head over onto trading, I haven't unlocked Jaeger yet. Like I said, I haven't played a single raid in this character. I've just opened up to show you guys. It is all the same, except, for example, fence. Usually in single-player Tarkov, fence will... I think I need to start from here, and then yeah, it'll load progressively. The items that fence gets here are randomized. So in single-player Tarkov, fence will oftentimes get some pretty silly things that generally people wouldn't sell. But then again, it is an online game. Pretty much you never know what people are going to sell to fence and what they're not going to sell. For example, there is a thick weapons case here you can buy from fence, and as you can see, all of his items are infinite. So in the online version of the game, fence only has one of these. So you would buy a thick case and it's gone for everyone. Or the hex grid plate carrier, or whatever. Here, they're all infinite, and they don't refresh, no matter how many times you click this. The way you would refresh Fence's inventory is you would exit the game, close the quote-unquote server, which is like a server emulator that you run parallel to the actual game. You would close it, and you would reopen it, and the inventory for Fence would refresh. That is the only way to do it. I think plans are for the future to make it so that when you click this, his inventory refreshes. But generally this is, in my opinion, a little bit too powerful because of the way items are randomized. I mean, I can just buy this right now. Mind you, it is fairly pricey, but yeah, you can buy pretty much anything from him if you refresh enough times. With that said, though, everything else is the same in terms of traders. Now, depending on when you pick up the game and when you pick up the mod, maybe some things will be a little bit different. It also depends on the version of the game, the version of the mod. Currently, this is the latest version of the mod running on the latest version of the game. So it's all identical. But for example, I'm not sure if I have any things here that I can show you. Okay, let's pick, for example, the Glock 17 TAC 3. It requires one cowboy hat. Maybe on the live server it would require 2 or 3, maybe vice versa. These things aren't exactly updated every day. And for example, if tomorrow Tarkov changes the trade for this SIG MPX to be like 1 DVD and 2 UV lamps instead of this won't get updated. This isn't updated daily, but it is taken from the actual game. The one thing that kind of annoyed me was the Bitcoin trades. The Bitcoin trades were nerfed in the live server, but the old ones stayed on SPT. That was months ago when I tested the mod out. But generally speaking, it's all the same. What also people are interested in is the flea market, and they're saying, well, the flea market doesn't work, you know, why would you play when the flea market doesn't work? Yes, it does. Here's the thing, I don't have the flea market yet because my character isn't level 20 yet. However, it works exactly like the flea market in online. You can sell whatever you want, and there are prices. There is the minimum price, the maximum price, and the game recommended sort of medium price in between. Now, the one difference is AI is a little bit greedy. Well, actually, no, it's a little bit generous. It's a little bit greedy in terms of buying. It will buy pretty much anything. I think if you put a reasonable price on the flea market, you are pretty much guaranteed to sell the item. Matter of fact, if you price it a little bit high, you are guaranteed to sell it. However, if you overdo it and, I don't know, ask for 100,000 rubles for a bottle of water, you will not sell that bottle of water. Items, however, on here are not just ones belonging to traders. As you can see here, actually, these are the people who made these trade offers. Prapor, Peacekeeper, Mechanic, etc., etc. You do get offers here from quote-unquote simulated players. It's not actually players, it's not actually bots that are making these offers, they're just randomized and loaded in. People with random usernames, or people, quote-unquote, random usernames here will put up a bunch of different things on sale, from weapons to gear to provisions, everything. There are in fact mods to make the flea market mimic the prices of the live server, because there is a third-party website that tracks these things and they just take data from there. I'm pretty sure it's all, I'm 99.99% sure that it's all legal and that they're not stepping on anyone's toes while they're doing it, that this is sort of allowed. But I'm just saying what exists. I'm not here to debate the legality or the problems of it. So, that is the traders. That is the traders. What about the character? Well, your stash is pretty much the same. This is the Edge of Darkness stash, so it's you start off with the maximum stash size. But it's pretty much the same. Weapons, money, gear, pouch, everything. If you die in the game, you lose everything. There is an insurance system, and it simulates whether someone picked up your gear or not. And it does a scary good job of simulating it. If you hide a backpack or a rifle or something in a bush, in a random corner of the map, nobody's going to find it. If you die, and you've been shot by a PMC, chances are most of your gear is going to be gone. Matter of fact, the what's it called? The insurance system is so realistic, it's a little bit scary. Sometimes, occasionally, it won't make sense. Like, you'll get killed by a PMC bot that isn't exactly all that well geared, and you'll get most of your gear back. Or sometimes you'll get killed by a scav in a random location, and you won't get any of your gear back. I like to think in those situations that the scav picked it up and left, which, you know, player scavs are a thing. It depends on sort of how you look at things, but it works really, really well. And that's it as far as the economy is concerned. Oh, well, I guess technically part of the economy. Quests. Yes, all of the quests are the same, all of the quests work. There is a mod to make some of the quests a little bit easier. For example, Shooterborn in Heaven is a little bit more difficult to get in single-player Tarkov. Juggernaut, that's preposterous. It's ridiculously difficult in online. Yes, but here's the thing. Here it kind of gets a little bit impossible due to the spawns and the way the AI behaves. It doesn't roam as much. It won't go to random locations across the map as much. There are some mods to make the AI, both scavs and bots, roam a little bit more, to be a little bit more aggressive, etc., etc. But most of the time, you're going to have a hard time setting up ambushes for the AI. You're going to need to go out and find them, see where they are, and then flank them and stuff like that. Anyways, speaking of, this is a good segue to the combat. Well, the combat in the base SPT is kind of a little bit too easy for me, honestly. Mostly because of the spawns. Both the PMCs and the scavs have relatively predictable spawns. Now, to be honest with you, if you play SPT Tarkov a lot, you're going to learn those spawns a lot better, I think, than if you're playing online, because there's not a lot of pressure, and honestly, the game is easier, right, without fully geared players, without cheaters, without desync, etc., etc. A lot of people love SPT precisely for those reasons, and yes, of course. However, if you do want to increase the challenge and put a little bit of that adrenaline back into the game, there are mods for that. One of which I'm running right now is called, let me just bring it up really quickly, is called Thin's AI Tweaks. Now, I'm also running a few more add-ons, such as all official keys, which I fully recommend. What that does is it makes it so that all keys in the game can spawn on the maps. There is also another one which, honestly, I think everyone has been waiting for years, well, for about a year or so, which changes the amount of loose loot that spawns. It's configurable, but it makes it so that the same amount of loot spawns in SPTarkov as does in online Tarkov. If you didn't know, this is based off of the offline version of the game. So that means when you go here and you click, for example, let's go to Customs, because I know that map very well. You see, this is offline raid test mode. You enable PvP, you do all of this, enable bosses, you can turn on Scav, War-Tagged, and Cursed. This all works. Difficulty as online, AI mount as online. I don't play around with this because there are other mods that edit this. And there you go. Now, because this is offline test mode officially within the logic of the game, the loose loot that spawns is reduced. Heavily reduced. For example, you know, in online, whenever you open up a car trunk, or you go around looting at random tables, not containers, but just randomly around the map, there's always useless junk there. You know, cigarettes, I don't know, T-plugs, whatever. There's always useless stuff around. What's not useless, and is also loose loot, quote unquote, that's what it's called, are certain spots on the map, such as not the cursed room, what is it called? The marked room. The rooms that you get to with keys, usually they have stuff like key cards or keychains or golden chains and stuff scattered around the floor or wherever. Again, the one on Customs being particularly obvious, an example for me at least. This will reduce the amount of loot that spawns there as well, to the point where, this being PvE mode, to the point where you'll often open up the marked room and there will be nothing there. Well, not often, but sometimes there will be literally nothing there. Now, on one hand, you could say, well, that's good because it changes the progression, so that you progress through the game a little bit slower because the game's a little bit easier. Well, actually, quite a lot easier. Now, then again, that depends on how you tweak the AI. That is true, but at the same time, you might also want to consider the fact that it also doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's not really fun to go around a barren map. Plus, you might want to consider that you don't actually have to make the game grindy. You can speed up progression if you want. It's all customizable, and that's sort of the basic philosophy and idea behind SPT. You can customize this experience as much as you want, in terms of the grind, the difficulty, the economy, everything. If I were to play this mod, I would play it in a pretty hardcore fashion, right? Maybe I would increase the loose loot spawns just for marked rooms to make sense to go to and to get the keys for them, but I wouldn't buy anything off the flea market. I would use only stuff that is found in raid, and sort of make a little role-playing experience out of the entire thing, right? Treat this game maybe a little bit more like Stalker, and I am completely being stupid, if I'm honest with you. Because I apparently cannot focus on the game and do what I'm supposed to. Okay, there we go. That is much better. Now, let's jump into a raid, like I said, on customs. And there we go. Here we go, a minute and a half or so of loading in, and we're here. Now, this feels a little bit weird. I need to change my settings really quickly. What I also thought about while I was loading in is, I didn't mention, you can actually roleplay in different ways. For example, you can use just the just the Soviet weapons and ammo and stuff, or just the NATO weapons and ammo, and maybe roleplay like that. But okay, like I mentioned, I am incredibly rusty at this game. I haven't played Tarkov in a few months, I think, so please bear that in mind as we go on and try and find somebody to fight, potentially. I do have Finn's AI tweaks installed. I haven't changed a lot in that mod. I'm mostly keeping with the default settings, and I'll play around with it as I get a little bit more experience, get my sea legs back, and see how things are going for me. Now, with Finn's AI tweaks, there is, in the newest version of this, in the newest version of this mod, there is a configurator. Now, before, you used to have to have some type of editing program installed, like Notepad, Notepad++, like text editing program, and then you use that to change some of the settings in the actual mod itself. Now, that is no longer required. There is an executable, and a bunch of useful tooltips on it, and it tells you what the different things do. It's really, really useful. And then we see the extra loot mod working as intended. I'm picking up mostly the useless stuff right now because, well, I've just started the game. I haven't played in ages. I don't rightly remember what some of the more useful things are, and there's fighting over there, so let's go towards it. Also, my performance isn't exactly stellar, but we'll deal with that as yep. Sod. He's probably going to come through there. AI tweaks will do that, yep. And they say it's not like online. There you go. I'm pretty sure I was hitting most of those shots. We'll find out. Maybe you just had great armor. But there you go. Oh, that is a refreshing feeling. Okay. Top of the head, 84 experience. Damage dealt to body 622. 13 hits. Yeah, that seems a bit much. I think Finn's AI tweaks gives health to the AI as well, which you can tweak around too. Like I said, there is that executable. You open it up, there's a bunch of useful explanations, tooltips and stuff, and you can tweak the game just how you like. You can increase the number of scavs and bots that spawn on a map. You can decrease it. You can play, you can play around with it in whatever way you would like. But there you go. I feel like that's a good note to end off on. I mean, it's kind of a bad note as well, because I haven't really showed you much of the combat. I just got killed, but, I put 13 hits into him with with the weapon, the best weapon I had at the start available to me. I feel like that's not a terrible thing. I feel like I haven't performed that terribly. It doesn't feel like it's mostly on me, either way. Be that as it may, I'll probably have to buy some armor and stuff, but I'll do that off camera. Thank you very much for watching. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a quick little showcase of Singleplayer Tarkov 2.0. Running now on the latest version of the game with all the new features, all the new map expansion and everything, and yeah, with pretty difficult AI, should you choose to play with AI like that. If you have any questions about the mod, if you have any questions about anything regarding Singleplayer Tarkov, feel free to ask me down in the comments below. I've tested it quite a bit a few months ago, and we're going to continue testing it and playing around with it today. So yeah, that's about it. Have fun, take care, and bye-bye.